Okay, I think we're good. Let's see if I can bring back my streamer stamina. I really need to find a solution for this stupid webcam. Or at least I should say the webcam mount. So far, from what I can tell, the audio should be okay. Visuals should be okay. Maybe I need to light it up a little bit more. Let's see. It's funny because it's like, that's a significant jump, but at the same time, I'm like, I'm just clicking it once. I don't know why it's doing that. But it's the light. I don't know. Alright, so I'm going to give it, hey, Skellybones, welcome to the stream. Gonna give it a few more minutes. I'm not going to jump the gun too quickly. I just want to see if people drop in after being gone, in terms of streaming, at least. Content has still been going up regularly on a weekly basis, but I know I haven't streamed exactly in a month, and to be quite honest, the main reason is because there hasn't really been anything to talk about. Prior to this week, there really wasn't anything crazy to really talk about. It's really been quiet. And in certain avenues of the industry and the culture that we all collectively, no pun intended there, like to talk about, like to be invested in, it's still kind of silent. And that's going to feed a little bit into one of the topics that I'll talk about. Pepe Instigator, welcome. Been fiending for a live show. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's like the motivation has been there, but I also don't want to force things. It's just like a poop. You cannot force a good content-filled live stream. Because last week and even the week before, I had days where I had the energy to live stream, and I was getting kind of like the itch, like I want to live stream. But there really wasn't any major topics. There were a couple of like Hot Toys related stuff, but even then I was like, A, the Hot Toys topics don't really do well on this channel, and B, what's been said has already been kind of said, and then after that we kind of propelled into the following week, and then a new news story that's kind of Hot Toys related, or at least 1/6 Skill related, kind of started to take its place, and I was just like, I was kind of over it at that point. And who knows, I might maybe recap some things that were Hot Toys related. I was kind of like, oh, I want to talk about this real quick. But there's three main ones, and then if there's any time left over or energy left over towards the very end, then maybe I'll tackle those. But for now, let me bring up my Google Keep along with a couple of articles that I am gonna need for research. I think I can use maybe these two. And that should be fine. Back, Greg, welcome. Hi, awesome to see you live, and I can't wait for the subject about Mattel. I'm so curious. Yeah, I'm pulling up some articles right now. Wouldn't mind getting your thoughts on some of the new Mayfix pre-orders. Oh, you know what? That is a pretty good topic. Blue Venom and Civilian Bruce Wayne. Okay, I can almost I can save my thoughts on civilian Bruce Wayne. Like I said, if there's time, I'll squeeze that in. The blue Venom, I can tell you right now, not interested because I already have the black Venom from Mafix. Every so often, I still pronounce it Mafix, even though apparently it's supposed to be said Mafix, I guess. But I already have the black with a few of the highlights of the black Venom from Mafix. That's why the blue Venom, I'm not interested in that color. I always kind of disliked it when Venom was in that color, especially playing MVC. It's like, so when that Marvel Legends 2-pack came out, I was like, I wish I could be with Captain America. I wish I could be interested, but I wasn't. Okay, I think I can use this article because I got DCCollectors.com or Toy News Eye. You know what? Toy News Eye I think is a little bit more reliable. We're probably going to use that one. DC Collectors might be a little bit on the bias side. Okay. And then I guess let's go to YouTube to pull up a particular live stream. Even though the live stream might be sort of irrelevant. And while I pull that, I'm pulling up all these articles and I'm waiting for a couple of more people to kind of chime in here and flow in. Quick, and very somber and stinging RIP to Catherine O'Hara, guys. That I woke up to that. I was like, God, and it literally just broke within like 30 minutes of me waking up. I woke up around 10:15ish, and when I saw the headline, it said right there like 30-something minutes ago. I was like, it just happened. The news just broke that Catherine O'Hara passed away at 71. For those of you who grew up on the Home Alone movies, she was the mom, the mom that everybody now as an adult kind of wants to call CPS on. But yeah, and then recently she was becoming, she just had like this career that never stopped because it's quite literally like three phases. It was the Home Alone movies, well, the 80s where you had an awful lot of like the pop culture movies that everybody remembers now, Beetlejuice, Nightmare Before Christmas, Home Alone, like late 80s, early 90s. There's that era. Then there's the Schitt's Creek era, where she showed off a bit more range with being in the mother in Schitt's Creek. And then most recently, not only popping up in the Beetlejuice sequel, but also showing a different form of comedy in Seth Rogen's The Studio. So, which I gotta be honest, there's a morbid part of my brain that kind of wonders how they're gonna explain her not being in season 2 now. It's just something that you always kind of have to prepare. But even then, at 71, I do kind of feel like that's a little bit young. I mean, I'm not saying, well, it's not young. You're in your 70s, but at the same time, 71, it immediately, and the fact that she was still consistently working, I was like, something must have been happening, or maybe she was battling something that we didn't know, doing it privately. Because other things, like some stars, they want to be private about what they're dealing with health-wise. That when they're gone, you're like, oh. Then you realize. That's it. The Asteroids 27, welcome to the stream. Do you think we'll finally get the Panther suit this year? I don't know why, but I just get the feeling that we're not. I truly feel like live action tackles. Well, I don't know. Because there's a part of me that because I almost want to say that the live action stuff is done, but at the same time, he is reissuing the Dark Knight trilogy stuff with Joker and Bruce Wayne. And wasn't there another one? And then, of course, you got the Nicholson Joker, which has been in demand for like the longest time. So I don't know. There's a part of me that kind of thinks so, but I don't know. But again, that's going to feed a little bit into what I'm going to mention in my second topic that kind of stems from the Mattel talk a little bit. Let's see if I can move the mic a little up. There you go. But how you guys been? Those of you watching, I understand that's technically still a school day, so it's possible that viewers. And like I said, I haven't streamed in a while. I made it my mission to try to schedule this stream last night because that way, when people woke up, they would at least see like some kind of waiting room pop up in their feed. So that's why I kind of wanted to see what's up with that, but we'll see. K-pop Demon Hunters, He-Man, and DC might elevate Mattel to my new toy company. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I'm not gonna. How many of you watching or in the chat have seen K-pop Demon Hunters? And I understand that they're gonna go hard on He-Man because you got the new movie coming out, and that'll probably perk up interest in the property, not just for the movie toy lines figures that are gonna. I remember I was watching a stream yesterday that theorizes that these new movie figures from Mattel are going to be a bit more on the Legends side in regards to like scaling and quality and accessory packing versus the actual Motu proper, as far as like the big girthy He-Man stuff. Stone Capybara, welcome to the stream. I'm super excited. I sold my first commissioned art. Oh, nice, Stone. What was the art of? So, real quick, I'll say this. I actually have seen K-pop Demon Hunters. I actually watched it not too long ago. About 2, maybe 3 weeks ago or so. Finally pulled it up on Netflix and watched it with my girlfriend. And I did like it. I think she definitely liked it more than me because she's still like reciting the songs and dancing to them, whatnot. I'm not, but I did enjoy my time watching the movie. I mainly just have one big problem with the movie, which is that, and that's the story. Or I guess you could say two, and my problem with the story is mainly a two-parter, which is that it is a little bit on the basic side. It does feel like it's borrowing from your traditional, like, generational trauma, like don't be like your parents kind of thing that you've already seen so many at Disney or frankly just plain animated movies tackle ad nauseum. To me, a bit more on the specific side, the second part of the problem, that was the first part, that's a bit more on the general level. The second part of the problem, though, is that without going into spoilers, let's just say that things are fixed a little too easily in the third act. The third act is a little rushed to where things get fixed just like that. And I'm like, if you're going to be able to fix things just like that, why didn't you lead with that in the first place? Why didn't you open with that and say that this could be done? And I'm like, I'm having this question in real time as the movie's playing, and if I'm developing those questions while watching the movie instead of thinking about them after the credits roll, and you're able to make me ignore them up until that point, if I'm not thinking of them and you're able to retain my attention away from popping those questions, then okay. But the fact that I was raising those questions in real time as the movie's third act was playing, I was like, yeah, that's a problem. So yeah, that's my main thing. But overall, I did enjoy watching K-pop Demon Hunters, and I think it's something that's probably a bit more important. I understand the hype. Like, seeing all these toy companies from the top people over at Hot Toys making their own Hot Toys K-pop Demon Hunters figures to now on the basic consumer side, Mattel, I get it. I actually do kind of get it. And in regards to Mattel, I'm not gonna lie, those are actually some pretty neat looking 6.5-inch figures, I think, of K-pop Demon Hunters, especially since the trio of the hunters, Hunter X, I know the main one is named Rumi. I'm blanking on the name of the other two, the rapping one and then the stoic one. But I love that each one has the ramen and the ramen eating face, and then the overly exaggerated angry faces or hyped faces. And I'm like, all right, see that's what you do. Street Fighter. I love Kevin so much. I got all three Hot Toys. Pepe, really? You pre-ordered all three? And here's the thing. I will say that there has been some controversy regarding those Hot Toys because apparently people have pointed out, and I will admit, I do see the difference. I do know what they're talking about. That if you look closely at their faces do need some work to where they don't look 100% accurate to the way that they looked like in the show. And that's not counting the, like I said, the exaggerated, overly animated, hyped up faces. They're talking about like the neutral design to like Rumi's head and the other two Hunter X's members' heads. If you look at the way that they're in the Netflix movie versus the actual Hot Toys prototype, they're like a little too lean, and their eyes are placed in a different format to where they're like, yeah, you need to fix these. Um, and let's just say this: it does sound like K-pop Demon Hunter fans are going to be vocal about that. They are not going to be stay silent about that. So we could be looking at those Hot Toys figures being quite a bit out, considering that that feedback is, like I said, very vocalized. Back, Greg. Just got out from a nice hot bath after a long shift at work. But I did watch Keep On Demon Hunters, and I don't want to lie, I kind of loved it. Also, the music, like a lot of the music is catchy. It is catchy enough for me to understand that yes, it did get nominated for best song and best animated at the Oscars. Oh, Stone Capybara, your commission was on Street Fighter. Spaded one, McDyness, McDysentery. Jesus, I have no clue what Capo Dinos is, but it was neat seeing so many options drop at once. I may pick up the $22 ones for the ramen accessories. I gotta be honest, Spaded. How is it possible that you have not heard of K-pop Demon Hunters? It's been blown up like crazy, and props to Mattel. I don't think Hot Toys is gonna do this. I think it'll be overly expensive. But props to Mattel for going the extra mile and also making the Soldier Boys. They're making all, I think they're like five of them, five Soldier Boys, and a 2-pack of, I guess you could call it Final Battle, Rumi and the dude that my girlfriend's in love with, because she's in love with the voice actor, because he's a K drama actor. He's in a bunch of K dramas, and she watches K dramas not just for the story but also for the dudes. And I'm like, I guess. Oh man, I'm out of money. I ordered everything from lpzz. Deathstroke is so good, but Red Death is what I can't wait. Also, isn't the man who laughs supposed to release now? Stone Capybara, hold on to that thought. It's actually one of the topics, which I think I'm gonna go ahead and get started on because it seems like there's a hefty chunk of you guys here already. Okay, fair enough. I mean, same thing here, Spaded. I don't have kids and I'm not into anime like that, but people couldn't stop talking about K-pop. Zoes, welcome to the stream. That's a palindrome. I want all the demon boys. No Diddy. But I get what you're saying, and like I said, even my girlfriend, I don't think she wants all the Sancho boys, but she did throw me eyes when I showed her the figure for the main guy. I'm blanking on his name. Is his name Genu? I want to say it's Genu. Genu keeps popping in my name. In my head, I think that's his name. She does want him. Now the question is, does she want the regular version of him, or does she want the demonized version in that 2-pack? Those figures are gonna sell. Yeah, those figures are gonna sell. The fact that we're having this goddamn conversation and you guys in the chat are all like, "I want this, I want that." I'm like, yeah, those figures are gonna sell. Get ready for more. Get ready for a wave 2 of some kind. You honestly think that they're not gonna make the fucking tiger? Because if they do, I'm buying. I did love the tiger in that movie. Constantly knocking over the pot. And the little bird, the bird that's just over it on his head. I'm like, all right, I think I might actually have to get those. I might have to get those. If that's that should be a 2-pack, because the bird is small enough that you should just pack those in. All Diddy. And yeah, back Greg, I'm gonna do that right now. Here's the real question: which Sanjo Boy member are you dressing up for Halloween? Do I have to? For the longest time, me and the girlfriend have been wanting to go as Gomez and Morticia. I actually like how Gomez dresses up in those movies and the show. Yeah, you know what, Spaded? That last comment is already getting my thoughts working. Now let's go ahead and jump into it. Let me see. Pulled up here this. Let me first make sure that I'm actually capturing the window. There we go. Perfect. Here we go, guys. Well, do I even want to keep using this site? Because they look at these ads. Fuck, man. So we're gonna close. Okay, I at least was able to minimize the damage a bit. Christ. Has Hot Toys done any other animated figures? I mean, Arcane. Just recently, actually, I think they released that the girl with the blue hair. I'm blanking on her name. Vi? Is that Vi or is that? No, Vi is the red hair one, right? But yeah. Stone Capybara just responded. Yeah, Arcane. If you want to get technical, Across the Spider-Verse and Into the Spider-Verse, since those are animated movies, but I know that they have a little bit of that cross branding with just the fact that it's Spider-Man and they've always done Spider-Man. So yeah, and, Clone Wars, some of the Clone Wars stuff with the Clone Troopers and then the Savage Opress. So yeah, not their first rodeo. And I do think that Hot Toys made an excellent decision in making sure that those top bodies are seamless, because they are a little bit on the lax side when it comes to like their outfits, especially the girl who raps. Again, I'm blanking on her name, but the one with like the little daggers that she can throw. She's got the sleeveless outfit, so naturally you're like, you got to do that silicone body. And the only exception is going to be the wrist, so you can swap out the hands. But otherwise, I'm like, that was a good move. All right. So, with the start of the new year, it was only a matter of time before something came out of this. And it seems like we're finally inching closer to a turn of the tide. Mattel has finally shown off, to an extent, to a very limited extent, their first wave lineup for their tackle at the DC figures after acquiring, or some would argue reacquiring, the license to DC. And according to this article from Toy News International, that I'm going to go ahead and start scrolling down so I can avoid the barragement of ads that are just being, pushed, getting my stuff pushed in here with all these ads. That's insane. I guess that's how this sort of a website stays alive. But shown below via Steve Ozer, who I'm guessing is reporting into this website via whatever kind of photography he was able to provide, we have our first teases from a toy convention in Nuremberg. The only other thing that I know about Nuremberg is that it's of course tied to the trial that took place almost 80, was it 80? Yeah, between 70 and 80 years ago when they were trying out the Nazis post World War II. But in Nuremberg, they did have the Nuremberg Toy Fair. It's on the way and brings us the new Mattel DC figures. These are, however, via this framed shot that was, again, pretty much meant to simply just be a tease plastered on the walls. So none of these figures were actually present on the floor. It was simply just an image that at first we only had like these really blurry photos. I'm sorry, but there's no excuse for photos of that quality unless you weren't supposed to take those photos. So whoever the brave soul was that was able to take this thing. Now, here's the thing. I'm wondering if any of if those blurry photos are also present, because we do have this picture here. And even though it's a nice, good quality, there is a part of my skeptical brain that almost wants to say this is touched up specifically, not AI, but it was touched up by AI, because the official photos that were first shown off prior to that cleaned up version, and that's just speculation. I'm not saying that that's exactly what happened, but there were these other figures. These other photos, like this one, also delivered to us by Toy News International, that were a little bit more on the blurry side, like this one right here. You also have this one that definitely looks a bit more believable, but at the same time, it's the kind of photo that I'm like, you can back up and focus your the quality of our phones, especially with like the one that everybody keeps talking about, the iPhone 16 or whatever number we're at now at this point, should be able to take much cleaner photos than this, unless again you weren't exactly meant to be there. So thankfully, whether it be by simply just having someone take a much cleaner photo or brushing it up a little bit with AI or Photoshop or whatever the case may be, we also have this look at this poster that teases Mattel's first lineup, which was hinted at a few months ago. However, these are meant to be 6.5-inch figures. Now, they did make it clear that all of their DC figures are going to have this very universal approach to 6.5. All of them. But what they had to remain, and also, by the way, the Mattel right here, like the edges of this like lettering is being cut off by this frame that again, that kind of feeds a little bit into potentially being sort of AI'd a little bit. I don't know what it is, but like I said, there's a skeptical part of my brain that's like, this feels like, but then again, here's the framing. So I guess it's real, or like I said, touched up somehow. I don't know. But I have reason to believe that this was in fact present at the toy fair, at the toy convention. And judging by the imagery of these photos, this first lineup that is speculated to debut sometime in like July, or I would be honest, what? Stop. I'm going to go as far as to say speculated to release by July, even though there's a possibility that maybe you could see some potential delays. So I'm kind of leaving a little bit of room for contingency in saying that maybe even August of 2026. What the hell's going on with this website? And therefore say that, according to them, this is meant to be their what they call their basic line. They're supposed to be having like 3 lines. I'm wondering if I'm able to find. Okay, maybe there's a reason for why Toys New Eye doesn't work, is because they are glitching like a motherfucker. I might have to go to a different site because now the site's crashing and it's not letting me. Wonderful. Fucking wonderful. Thank you, Toy News Eye. I'm probably gonna have to go to someplace else because maybe it's all those ads you're running in your site. Jesus Christ. Here we go. Okay. I found probably a better site that's running a little bit smoother, even though there's still ads like crazy, but we're gonna have to make do. Okay, here we go. I think I might have found something a little bit better. Toys Habit. So not only are they reutilizing this imagery right here, Spiel Awareness 2026. What is that? What's Spiel Awareness? I just know that it was a toy fair at Nuremberg. But yeah, it was this thing right here. And then according to this, an image of the new 6.5 kid-friendly DC Universe line was shown featuring Batman, Green Lantern, Superman, Joker, Flash, Deathstroke, and classic Detective Batman and Robin. The DC Multiverse rights are still held by McFarlane until the end of 2026. Mattel's new line will be named DC Universe. So we're not calling it Multiverse. It's funny how the politics of all this, works, really, because it starts to get frustrating. Starting in July 2026, allegedly, because like I said, I'm leaving room for contingency in a possible delay into August. With budget-friendly 6.5 scale figures, Mattel's first wave of figures will consist of the Flash and the Joker and the Flash. So I'm guessing Deathstroke and that second Batman and Superman will not be in that first wave. So I guess Deathstroke is part of wave 2, along with the second Batman, which I believe that basically the figures that are on the far left of that image, minus Deathstroke, is wave 1. Which kind of checks out, because if you look a little closely, I wonder if I could bring back that image. Let's see if I could blow this up a little bit. Can I zoom in on this? No, I can't. Well, hold on. Let me briefly go back to Toy News Eye. But in this image, if you look a little carefully, can I zoom in? No, I can't. Well, actually, over here I can. Over here. If you look a little carefully, even though we're starting to lose a little bit of resolution, the lighting on the 4 figures to our right, so Joker, Batman, Robin, and Flash, all have the same lighting, but Deathstroke doesn't. Deathstroke has a completely different lighting, and he looks shopped in. He doesn't even have the shadow. Notice he doesn't have shadow. Kind of leading to what I'm banking on, which is that the Joker and on, that's wave 1. And then wave 2 is Deathstroke, and then these 3. I could be wrong, but I'm hard speculating that that's the case. Wave 1, and then wave 2 with Deathstroke. Gotta be honest, I've said this already once, maybe twice before. Kind of feel like it's a mistake that Superman is not in wave 1. It's Superman. Why is he not in wave 1? I would swap Flash for Superman. And then have Flash with Green Lantern, who they both often end up having like buddy team-up sort of arcs in the comics and even some of the animated shows. And then have Deathstroke and this all-black Batman in there. Now, that's just something that I, play around with and I speculate. But to me and to several other collectors, the big thing that they're talking about is that these are the first set of budget-friendly 6.5 scale figures. So the understanding, especially off of statements that Mattel has made a few months back, is that they're doing for sure they're doing 2 divisions, but I think I read somewhere that they're also doing 3, where they're going to have because people are speculating this off of the way Mattel tackles wrestling figures. Because with wrestling figures, there's 3 tiers. There's the very basic $20 thing. There's one that's 27 or 28 that's I can't remember what the name is called. But then the last one is Ultimate, which is almost $40, but it's the figure, and then the wrestler has 10 to 15 pieces of accessories that you can like deck out, and it ranges across the legacy of the wrestler. It's like a full setup, a full like thing that's intended for adult collectors like myself. And people are saying that basically Mattel's going to be tackling the same thing with DC. So in case you were wondering as to why these figures look so basic and almost kind of cheapy looking, that's because these figures are going to be those basic ones that are only going to be like $20, maybe $22.99 and some change. And it's just going to be the figure, maybe an extra pair of hands or one accessory. Like Robin here, you can kind of see he's got like a shuriken of some kind. Deathstroke's probably going to have his sword, because obviously they're not going to want to pack in guns in there. And that's it. So for that $22.99, that's all you're going to get. And then bump it to $30, you're going to get something probably in the middle. And then finally, you're going to get a collector's, adult collector wave. That's probably going to be closer to about $40, 35 to $40. But that's going to be the thing that's going to have maybe felt goods, like a whole armament of accessories. If it's Deathstroke, he's finally going to have his rifles and his guns and his swords, katanas and whatnot. But as indicated here, also adult collectors, don't fret, because collector product is on the way in January of 2027 with an initial look at those figures closer to their release. Yeah. Oh wow, it really is called Spielwarn Mess. Messe. Whatever it's called. But anyways, yeah. Wait, so classic Robin, the Joker. So Deathstroke is Wave 1? Okay. I guess I was wrong. According to this, Wave 1 is going to include Deathstroke. I think that's kind of weird. Again, I feel like Flash should be replaced with Superman. But yeah, I guess I was wrong. Because like I said, the lighting kind of threw me off a bit. But no, Deathstroke is going to be Wave 1. All right. And Wave 2, which is probably going to be the top 3 figures you saw in that poster, is going to be coming in September. I do like that they have a tight-knit turnaround time. So if they truly do meet the expectation of dropping Wave 1 in July and then Wave 2 in September, only 2 months gap between those waves, that's actually not bad. Yeah, you can see that even those that are aimed more at kids, they are hardly articulated with double knees and elbow joints. Well, to be honest, if you're aiming at kids, you need to throw in more articulation, because kids are going to want to play with these. They're going to want to fuck around with these. That you have to do that. Yeah, and I remember, like, here, this site is also reporting on that initial leak that I even talked about a couple of months, was it last month or maybe 2 months ago, by Alex Chen, where he was kind of dropping, and that's where I made my first comment about the fact that the Flash is in Wave 1 and not Superman. But yeah, rumor has it Mattel using their WWE strategy, starting with budget-friendly figures, but potentially expanding to elite or premium ultimate versions later. Elite, okay, that was the middle tier. So basic, elite, premium/ultimate. And the rumor has it that that's what Mattel's going to do with DC. And little by little, it looks like that's what's coming to fruition. And we're only going to get the basic stuff in 2026. If you're looking for that really high-tier consumer, if you want like a definitive-looking Batman that's got black and gray, but then he's got like 4 to 6 batarangs, the grapple, felt good cape, alternate Bruce Wayne head, all that stuff, we're looking at 2027. This has come to be, in terms of what we're seeing right here and what I can tell from the quality, like I said, it looks pretty basic. I almost feel like I don't want to say screaming, but just speaking very loudly into the void by saying this. But if you were to ask me if you're sitting okay with this being the rollout at the potential price that it's at, if these are the basics that they're starting off with, I think $20 to even $22.99 is too expensive. I think we need to be a little under that. We need to be somewhere around the $17 to $18 range. I think $20 or higher is a little too expensive. I know it's not going to happen. I know, like I said, I'm old man yelling at clouds uttering that, because we can already tell that judging by the way that manufacturing is happening, especially since I believe I remember reading somewhere that these are being manufactured in Vietnam versus China. So time will tell what the quality is going to be, because if that quality is not up to par and they have the gall to charge us $22.99 like a DC Multiverse is, a singular basic DC Multiverse is these days, that is 7 inches and arguably has maybe, I don't want to say more accessories, but just accessories that kind of add in a little bit of value, especially even though sometimes it ends up being a case by case basis. But on a best case scenario, you have a figure like that 1989 Michael Keaton Batman re-release or revamp, reissue, whatever you want to call it, that McFarlane did, to be completely fair across the board here, that they sold for $25, but it came with what? The rods to extend his nylon cape. He came with the grapple, the remote for the Batmobile, 2 Shoryuken, Batarang, and I want to say one other accessory. It had like this whole section on the box that was just nothing but accessories. And I'm like, $25? This is actually a pretty good deal. And that's already me triple dipping at that point. And that's, like I said, not counting the figures. So I'm like, $22.99. But then this is all you get. Maybe like a Batarang and that's it. And this is a smaller figure. Quality's probably going to be a little bit on the, not super premium side, because this is just aimed at kids that they're probably thinking under the mentality that, oh, they're not going to know the difference. So I'm like, okay, but that's not going to stop me from saying that they're overpriced. And I know that people are going to say they're not for you, and I'm like, okay, then I probably won't buy unless there's enough feedback to say that, would you pick one up? Because if it was up to me, I would just get one. And of course, it'll be Batman, because I love Batman. But that's it. Because I don't want to risk buying the whole wave and then getting burnt by the quality, if we all end up being a little bit wrong. And I understand that the easy scapegoat answer is to say, these were for kids. But I'm like, even for kids, $22.99? What if little Timmy lasts no longer than the day and breaks the figure because of how much cheaper they are? Mom and dad are going to be like, yo, this figure was almost $25, almost $30 after tax. I'm sorry, but you're going to have to wait a little while to buy a new one. And by the time that they get around to getting that second check, that third check, after paying, the monthly mortgage, paying groceries, paying bills, they're going to be like, oh, I'm sorry, but we miscalculated. We don't have enough to buy another Batman for little Timmy. Domino effect starts. These figures don't sell. What happens to that ultimate line that us adult collectors were waiting for in January of 2027? I've seen some of you guys' chats mentioning this, already teasing this, that if this doesn't perform well, what do you think is going to happen with that receding adult collectors line, whether it be the elite in the middle or the higher tier ultimates? What do you think is going to happen? Yeah, they're probably going to stay safe in producing just a shit ton of Batmans, but guess we're back. We're back to where we started. We're back to what we were complaining about with McFarlane, where they were doing nothing but Batmans and we don't get other classic characters. Even though Batman's my favorite character, ever so often I feel sympathy for those that love Green Lantern and barely having Green Lantern figures, love people who've been wanting a Zatanna are barely getting a Zatanna from McFarlane, and it's literally on their sunset year. So it's like, I personally feel like they need to start having these meetings to truly decide, because I know that the $22.99 is speculative. I don't think that's been confirmed yet. It's just speculative based on how they're charging their wrestling figures right now. But is that like the concrete? What the fuck? Is that the concrete price set right now? No. We're gonna have to wait a little while longer going into this new year to find out, like, from a formal statement or press release. It'll actually be kind of cool if Mattel would do the thing that Hasbro has been doing and that McFarlane has been doing, which is to do like a live stream, like this press junket direct style live stream, to be like, hey, we're finally disclosing all the information on the DC universe. Here's Wave 1. Here's a tease of Wave 2. Here's the price. Here's the retailers that they're going to be available at, which we're understanding is probably going to be all the general ones, Amazon, Target, Walmart, and then subsequently fan channels like BBTS, Entertainment Earth, yada yada. I think that's what they should do. But at this once they get there, I know it's gonna sound stingy for me, and I know that people who probably work in the toy manufacturing industry are gonna say that I'm wrong. And if the maths, then okay, I guess I'm wrong. But right now, as a pure layman from the outside looking in, if they go maybe $20, I'm willing to be okay with. But if they go above that, like I said, $22.99 or even $25 for the basics, that's too much. It would be awesome if they were like 17 or 18. I severely doubt it, but it would be awesome if they were priced at 17 or 18 for what they're offering. But that's just me. Especially since, like I said, ever so often I walk into Target or Walmart and I see like Spin Master, well, maybe not Spin Master. They're not the best example considering that they were overpricing a little bit for those PlayStation figures, and now they're being found at Ross for like $10. But what's a company where I was like, hey, this is not. I think it's Jax Pacific who makes the Avatar figures, the Avatar Last Airbender, and they're charging I think about $16-17 for them, and I'm like, hey, these don't look bad. They can tackle something like that, but I doubt it. Who am I kidding? So that's where I kind of stand predominantly on the Mattel stuff. What do you guys think? Let me go into your chat here, see what you guys have to say. Are those capes solid plastic? I'm thinking no. I think they are like a very small, thin fabric cloth. But it could be wrong. Actually, hold on. Now I'm curious. Let me go back to that image. And Mattel has done cloth capes before, but like I said, they're not like the most pleated, high quality things. They're like little fiber cloths that they just kind of cut out in that pattern, and that's it. I think they are cloth, but like I said, they're going to be very dangly and basic. Yeah, they look like very small pieces of cloth. You guys think that they're plastic? And the head sculpts, the picture's so far away that the Joker actually looks kind of. Hold on, let's swap a little bit. Joker actually, in this particular photo, Joker doesn't look too bad. He actually looks pretty solid. But it's the bulbing top leg joint that I'm looking at like, brother, And then there's Toy Shiz's video thumbnail. Gotta be honest, John Stewart Green Lantern looks pretty nice actually, but as you guys pointed out in the comments, yeah, no ab crunch, just a swivel there on the waist. That's the thing, is like you're also going to be cutting out an awful lot of articulation, no torso crunch of any kind or swiveling on Superman. I think it's only going to have no thigh swivels, maybe an ankle. Yo, do they have ankles? They don't look like they have ankles. I think it's just the knees, guys. Is it just the knees? I spent so much time talking about the strategy. Because look at this. Yeah, no. Oh, no. They don't have ankles. Look at Deathstroke. There's no cut. It's just the knees and then the top legs. Yeah, again, guys. You know what? I'm going to be utilizing this as a little bit of uh, fuel for my argument that, yeah, these things need to be like 17 or 18 bucks. Articulation is going to be very bare. You're teetering on simply just being a 5 POA. The head, it looks like it's going to be on a ball joint that can swivel, maybe tilt a little bit. And naturally, the arms, but I can almost see that there's no biceps, or maybe there's a bicep. Actually, no, there's no bicep because look, now Joker doesn't have it. The elbow looks like it's like one bend and one swivel. And then maybe the wrists. Yeah, now I'm getting a little bit more concerned, but at the same time, a bit more justified in saying that these figures should be $17.99. Like I said, my apologies. I spent so much time strategizing of how this rollout is going to be in terms of, like I said, price, allocation and timetables and whatnot, that I didn't really very well scrutinize the actual figures themselves. And though the head sculpt for at least the all black Rebirth style Batman here at the top is, in terms of, like I said, the head sculpt and the design of the cowl and even a little bit of the torso with the yellow symbol. Yeah, the articulation could lead to like some breakage if little Timmy wants the leg to bend a certain way, but it can only do so at the knee. Then it breaks. Then, as I mentioned before, mom and dad are going to have a problem replacing a $22 to $25 before tax, close to about $30 figure after tax, if you're going to be pricing it that way. Please, Mattel, prior to your big press release, please rethink the price, because the strategy I actually really do dig to roll out with the basics, but you got to make sure that that price makes sense. And like I mentioned before, guys, if you guys want me to get one, like I said, I'll probably just get the one Batman, which is probably going to be this one right here. Wait, I swapped the screen. The blue and gray with the yellow. The DC Detective or black and gray, whatever, black and gray and blue Batman that's demonstrated right here next to Joker and Robin. I'll probably pick him up as a experiment, as a test, and most definitely content for the channel. But am I gonna go like deep into the wave and be like a first adopter? No. No, sorry, but I just can't bring myself to do it. Yeah, guys, you guys saw that? Deathstroke did not have ankles. Yeah, if those are gonna be $22.99, almost like DC Multiverse, I'm like, nah, you guys are selling. I'm sorry, but call me. What's the opposite of a capitalist? But yeah, it definitely sour me, even to just pick up one. Cause I'm like, knowing you saw how much we're lacking. One of these days, I'm probably gonna, like, if I ever go to like Target or Walmart to get groceries or whatever it is that I need. Actually, I might need to go to Walmart tonight to get some creamer. Prior to getting the creamer, I might just go to the toy section real fast and take a look at Mattel's wrestling figures, just to see, what's the scope of the work, if you will, in terms of what we're dealing with. Yeah, cause see what their basics look like and what they charge them at. And again, 6.5 is kind of strange because when you think of a wave that's supposed to like cater to like Marvel Legends or whatever, you think of just 6-inch flat, and it's not. Still have some of my toys from when I was younger. I was very rough-handed when I was a little lad, and they still going strong with the yeah, because the plastic, as mentioned here by Stone Capybara, yeah, my pop said plastic quality was better back in the day, but I always shrug him off. But he's right. My modern figures always get QC problems, especially my SH figures. Yeah, because I mean, with market conditions, as is always being referred to, these companies are like, oh, let's make it cheaper, but either charge the same. It's the same. It's the same principle that is infecting other industries. It's not necessarily exclusive to the action figure community. You know, it's with food. You know, the McDonald's, the burgers getting smaller and tasting nastier, and yet the price either stays the same or even goes a little higher. It's just a snake eating itself, and eventually this bubble's gonna pop. Over on the gaming PC scape with all these sticks of RAM getting charged up the ass, and yet the explanation as to why they're charged the way they are is all because of like AI, or the AI bros are buying up the RAM, so it's kind of increase, it's diminishing supply, and therefore they're like, well, we gotta charge more because we don't have that many. Like, yeah, because I mean, as demonstrated in that video I recently did talking about the Tobey Maguire figures, at the very beginning I had the Toy Business. And even though the joints are a little bit, not a little bit, they're actually quite loose on the wrestler suit Spidey and the zipline Spidey from Spider-Man 2 Wave, both of those figures are respectively from 2002 and 2004. And even though, like I said, joints are loose, but the actual main limbs, the filament of the plastic inside of each individual part, it's not brittle, it's not deteriorating, it's not flexing. I'm like, I mean, obviously, if I were to like push my luck and actually try to break it, it will break, obviously. But the fact that it hasn't dissolved on its own, I'm like, bro. All right, sorry about that. Mom's passing through the hallway, and there's a very good chance that she's trying to listen in because she always tries to do that. And also testing something out with my light because I feel like it's either too strong or too low between settings. I don't know why it doesn't. All right. Guys, I truly cannot tell what is more alarming. Discovering the lack of joints inside of the basic line, which not having the most prominent form of articulation is come to be expected out of the basics series that Mattel is teasing for their DC line, since it's going to be, their basics are going to be catering towards a younger demographic, predominantly kids, probably between ages 8 to 12, somewhere around that bracket. So lacking articulation is not necessarily a crime. It would just become a crime should the figure be a little overpriced, and taking into consideration that that price could lead to a domino effect affecting the figures that we truly do want to see, which is going to be that elite / ultimate edition style of figures that's going to be catering towards adult collectors like myself, which isn't even set to be even remotely looked at until January of 2027. I don't know if cause for alarm should be raised towards that. Well, the fact that McFarlane Toys entering the new year has been the most quiet I've ever seen them. That's my second topic, is it just me, or is McFarlane not uttering a single peep? Also cause for concern, because this is where you need to be stepping up a little bit. This is where you need to be making yourself, putting up your last stand. Superheroes are known for planting their feet on the ground and delivering on a last stand. I mean, we saw the way Endgame was about to roll out. Captain America was ready to go toe to toe with Thanos and his army prior to the portals even opening up. He was already walking forward with half a shield, and meanwhile, McFarlane is sort of crickets, even after already delivering their first ever McFarlane Toy Show, and it's for sports figures? On the sunset year where you're contesting the DC license, and you instead decide to talk about sports figures for not only one of their shortest live streams at only 38 minutes, or if you want to get technical, about 37 minutes, 36 minutes actually, no, 36 minutes, of which is just sports stuff, most of which are these like little mini figurines. At least for the little mini figures are like these blocky style sort of things. Of course, you have your pre-post figures, as they've been called. And to be fair across the board, it is pretty intriguing that they're finally tackling articulated sports figures. Okay, not gonna lie, wouldn't be. Also, I do find it amusing that they're tackling the mascots via plushies, and of course, again, pre-post figures. The biggest highlight to me out of this entire presentation is that not only with hockey, but they also teased, if I could find it, there you go, they are going to be doing articulated NBA figures. So I'm over here thinking, all right, a much more budget-friendly option to a articulated Michael Jordan figure, instead of having to go for the rather pricey Mafex, because I know Mafex has like two Michael Jordans, the home team uniform and the away uniform. Personally, I prefer the away uniform because I like the red from his time with the Chicago Bulls, late 90s. All right. That was a legendary run, and I wouldn't mind owning that Mafex. But to see that just in time, McFarlane might actually be able to provide a much cheaper, affordable option, okay. That's probably the biggest highlight out of this live stream yesterday. But outside of that, nothing else. There was no one more thing. I was quite naive in thinking that there was going to be some kind of like tease to be like, hey guys, here's a little DC thing at the very end. No, it was literally nothing but just sports, an offer for like 50% off something. and that is it. Maybe saying stay tuned for the things that's coming in 2026 in the future, general housekeeping, but outside of that, nothing. And if this was, I'm not exaggerating when I say that if we were in 2023, 2024, maybe even 2025, opening with this style of show centered on just sports, I would be much more lenient. I would be like, all right, they don't really have anything to show right now. But 2026 is not it. 2026 is not it right now, especially after that tease showed off in Nuremberg by Mattel. McFarlane, you needed to speak. And the fact that you've been quiet and you're the only thing coming out of McFarlane, not just from that McFarlane Toys show episode 11, I believe it was, but also throughout their entirety of their social media feed, has just been the sports stuff. It definitely shakes the confidence. And I understand that looming on the horizon, we're going to hear more about the 89 Joker, pseudo Joker, if you want to call it that. And then, of course, like I said, those re-releases. But even then, we still have yet to hear about those re-releases. Re-releases that even I'm not interested on, which means we still need to wait an additional amount of time should there be something new. At this rate, considering that we're already entering February, mark my words, we're looking at, realistically, I think we're looking at WonderCon at the end of March to hear something concrete on DC. And if we hit WonderCon and McFarlane still doesn't make a comment on DC, I think we're in the sputtering stage where an awful lot of those real releases, the things that were already kind of being planted in the months prior when I started to talk about those 2-packs, like the Killer Croc and Grim Knight 2-pack that was originally a GameStop exclusive and then started making its way towards Targets. The fact that some 2-packs or figures were exclusive to a storefront like Amazon, BBTS, or whatever, and then eventually ended up on a different storefront, mainly Amazon or even Walmart. And I'm like, what happened to the exclusivity? And it's like, nope, we're abandoning that. It means that product is not moving, and you guys need to make that money back. And from a business standpoint, that all completely makes sense. But as a general consumer who's just over here, not in a suit, not in those meetings, you're honestly going to give me the shocked Pikachu face when you guys reveal something, and I'm like, I'm already kind of exhausted, and I'm looking at third parties like, I'd rather save my money and go with that. Momentum is everything. And when the momentum of their feed is looking like this, where you have a very ugly ass looking Lucius from Gladiator 2, which is ironic that this is supposed to be Paul Mescal's character, and yet he looks more like Pedro Pascal in the figure. Like, come on, dog. And then you have the more black and white TMNT stuff, GameStop, Walmart exclusives. This is probably the closest to something that people are probably hunting down, which I don't blame them for. A lot of people were looking forward to this figure. I'm just not a Green Lantern fan like that, but I definitely understand where the hype is for, as well as this guy, Hal Jordan. Definitely this Flash. I think I saw a comment in the chat right there, you guys saying that this Flash has been selling out like crazy, because for a lot of people it's a definitive Flash. And again, don't blame you guys. You got the pre-post Marvel stuff like this Juggernaut, which I actually did find in store one time, and he looked neat, but like I said, I don't care about the character like that, so I'm not moved in that direction. And like I said, this is the beginning of January for stuff that we already knew about. We had that Elite. We have the Elite Spawn, which I still have not picked up because, again, I've soured on the Elite series to where I'm like, not only have I not picked up Spawn yet, or made the effort to do so, but I went ahead and I canceled my NCR Trooper pre-orders for that guy. I canceled, what was another Elite? I didn't cancel it, but Entertainment Earth charged and shipped, and we're talking about like something that happened like 4, maybe 5 months ago. the T60. And by that point, like I said, I soured on the Elite Edition branding that I when I received it, I shipped it back. I paid the shipping, but I was like, it's actually pricey enough that I'd rather just take the 50 and send it back. And I did. I didn't open it. Didn't review it. I didn't open it. I literally just cracked open the box so I can pull up that return slip, and that's it. And I shipped it back. Because I just didn't find the motivation in me enough to keep going with the Elite Edition. I thought Spawn was going to be it, but when I noticed that there was like the head that they removed from its initial reveal, and then a couple of more accessories they pulled out from, but they kept the price the same, I was like, yeah, I'm not moved right now. So far, it seems like a figure that if I were to have a bit more of expendable income and I were to like find it physically in store, well, again, going into Walmart to try to get creamer or groceries or whatever, and Elite Spawn is there, I'll be like, if it looks a little bit better in person, I'll be like, oh, maybe. But right now, I would just say that McFarlane's silence is truly deafening, and maybe not in the best sense. Although, if I ever need to make myself a Conan O'Brien figure, dude, I've seen some people already take this head and put it on a suit, and it legit, and they put it on the Joker set, the overpriced Joker set that was like $250 with the Murray Franklin setup, but they just removed the Murray Franklin piece. They just put the desk. They put a suited figure with this head seated on the talk show host desk, and I'm like, bro, it's fucking cool. I love it. I absolutely love it. I almost want to try and do it. Yeah, I know everybody in the chat. That's Conan O'Brien. I don't care how much he wiggles his nose. I always kind of want it just so I can kit bash a Conan O'Brien, because this is sick. I'm actually, I wonder, I'm going to have to look at his YouTube channel to see if somebody hasn't brought this up to him. Come on. Somebody needs to bring this up to him and ask, like, hey, you okay with this? Oh, man. Yo, KevBot. Sorry, KevBot. Thank you for the super. I still don't have super chats installed. Jesus, or the notifications. I'm so sorry. KevBot. I'm just hopping back onto chat. Thank you for the $10 super chat, man. I'm sorry. KevBot, thank you so much. You think the hype for collecting that rose through COVID has dropped off some, and that's why they are branching out to other stuff like sports? That's what I feel is happening personally. Some? KevBot, again, I appreciate the $10. Some? You think it dropped off some? It dropped off entirely. It's the reason for why I, full transparency here, am having the hardest time in my life to sell shit. Not just in the action figure space, but I don't know. You might actually be able to tell. Eagle-eyed viewers might be able to tell. You notice this empty space right here wasn't there in the last time I streamed. If you go back and watch my last stream from like a month ago, this empty space was not present there. And that's because there's some video game collector's editions that were back there. I took them off, listed them on Mercari, and one did sell. The other originally sold, but then the guy who sold found a rip in one of the sleeves and sent it back. Dipshit. And so I'm trying to move that merchandising because, like I said, those collector's editions have just been sitting there. And me and the girlfriend, even though, God bless my girlfriend, she just recently found a job. She's going to be starting in a little over a week. So congratulations to her. But I'm still trying to, like I said, make sure that we're sustainable enough. But now I'm looking at my collector's editions and going, okay, they've just been sitting there. I haven't been able to display with them or mess around with the included bonuses. Might as well put them up on the market. And even though I'm selling them on the same price that I bought them for, they're not moving. Why? Because we're not in COVID anymore. People don't have that expendable income anymore. People don't have those stim checks anymore. They realize that shit got oversaturated and influxed 5 years ago that now we're like, oh, we shouldn't have done that. It's why, quick side tangent here. Technically, we're done with the McFarlane conversation, but quick side tangent here. They weren't moving on Mercari or OfferUp, right? By the way, Packrat or I can't remember. You had a different name, but welcome to the stream. um, they weren't moving enough that I went ahead and I went. Some of you may have heard of this chain before. It's a chain called Book Off that they have here in Southern California. Technically, they're from, I think, Japan or China, one of those two. And they have franchises or stores, a chain of stores here in Southern California. Closest one to me is in Riverside. I took 2 of these collector's editions. It was the Cyberpunk 2077 collector's edition and the God of War 2018 collector's edition, which is still sealed, brand new in box, mind you. I took both of those to Book Off to see what I get back in value, in cash money, because you can sell back or trade back, whatever you want to call it. I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe I paid about $100 or 120, somewhere around there, 120, 130 for the God of War Collector's Edition. God of War 2018. I believe I paid 200 flat for the Cyberpunk 2077 Collector's Edition. So that's total about 350, maybe, or 320, 330, something like that. These motherfuckers at Book Off wanted to give me $63 and 20 something cents for both of them. Yeah. Damn, that is foul. Yeah. They gave me the little like evaluation receipt. $63 for both. Not even each, both together. I loaded that shit back up into my truck immediately. I was like, yeah. And you know, my girlfriend's there consoling me, like, yeah. And she was reiterating the same thing I'm saying right now, which she's right. You know, it's, you know, people, they realize that they don't have that money anymore, and they're trying to hemorrhage the money. And here's how I know they're bullshit, and I'll probably never go to them for this again, or probably never even go to them to buy anything. They actually have an open God of War 2018 Collector's Edition. I saw it in one of their aisles. They actually have the PS4. The one that I brought in, only open. And they're selling it for $150. Something like that. But it's open. Mine is sealed. And they want to offer me $63 for that and the Cyberpunk? Go fuck yourself. Yeah. Like the quickness I loaded that up into my truck. And I went back on Mercari and OfferUp and tried to, you know, like I said, fluctuate the price to make it so that I can actually get something in return, while at the same time not scalping like crazy. Yeah, so I gotta be honest. I don't know when or if I'll ever go back to Book Off, even just to buy, knowing that whatever I buy from them, they probably gave whoever traded that in like the low. Like that's probably even worse than GameStop. I almost want to even investigate GameStop to be like, hey, what would you guys give me for this? But I don't think they even, I could be wrong, but I don't think they even do collector's editions anymore. They just do basic games. And even then, they'll be quicker to do a trade rather than, or store credit rather than money. Yeah, as Packrat was saying, they're branching out because they're losing that DC license. And for a little while, I was thinking that the Elite Edition could be something like that, especially going back to Doomslayer and then I said this from day one, the Mortal Kombat wave could have been awesome. And I thought to myself, dude, think about all the outfits that they wear throughout the entirety of the Mortal Kombat franchise. Not just one, but then you go into 2, you go into 3, you go into Vengeance, you go into Annihilation, you go into the reboot series from the 2009 version to X to 11. Sky's the limit. But unfortunately, you guys put yourself in a limit by offering each figure with only one accessory, whether it be hands or, not and, or some kind of like weapon. $30? I'm sorry, but that should be like 20 or maybe $22.99. 30? Last time I went to Target, I went to their collector's corner or spot, whatever it's called. And there's a shit ton of Liu Kangs, a couple of Scorpions, and a couple of Sub-Zeros just sitting there. Just think back to how difficult they were to find at the beginning, and now look how they're just stocked up like crazy. And a couple of Melinas. Katanas. I'm like, yeah, you did this to yourself. 30? Yeah, and Stone Capybari, I'm leaning towards import only, which I guess is a perfect segue into our third and possibly well, actually, I'll try to sandwich it a little bit. Let me see if I can do it. One thing's for sure, people are still buying DC Multiverse like crazy, but they are very picky. They know exactly what ones are popular. Like, for example, Zatanna obviously was a quick sellout, but that's only because of how long it took to make a Zatanna, which makes sense. I think second to her, the most recent DC Multiverse that probably sold really quickly was Professor Pig. Because they probably thought the same thing as me, where I'm like, oh yeah, Professor Pig is like one of those legit creepy villains. It would be awesome to have a figure out of him. Kevbot, the toy community no longer has the engagement it has. I went to it at the beginning of 2020 when it exploded. Now the numbers are not what they used to be. Another little like litmus test. Either go to your Instagram page or better yet your YouTube homepage. If you watch enough action figure or toy collectible content, just compare how many long form basic videos you get of action figures versus shorts. Because is it just me, or like all the content that I see, even when I do like a search of something, is just a short? And it's a guy like holding the box like, we having a fucking seizure? Like, God. That needs to be a GIF. I probably need to make that an emote or something. I don't know. Okay, so I was right. You guys are saying you get the shorts before the actual videos. And then when I go on Instagram and I see action figures or something, I'm thinking. And here's the thing: I'm not saying don't do shorts at all, but come up with a nuanced way. So, for example, if you're doing a short on a figure that is like from Mattel, you can find in the toy aisle at Target or Walmart, maybe I can understand the quick, frenetic shit that I just did. Don't do that shit if you... Do not do that shit in front of my face if you're trying to cover something like this. Okay? You want to show something off like this? Give it the respect it fucking deserves and stop cutting so frequently and jittering all the time. Alright? Come on. Don't do that. You can still do a vertical short, but just don't do that crazy hyped up sugar diabetic Timmy shit. All right? With that said, perfect segue into our next topic. Although, to be honest, I think I might have to do a little bit of a recon via an article. Let me see if I can find it. But if you guys couldn't already tell, perfect segue, I happen to have here in hand the lpzz / UP Find Yours Arkham Knight Deathstroke, which might populate your feed tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning, that's right. We're practically done on the editing stage. Just a couple of little touch-ups. Otherwise, we're good to go. Or usually I upload on a Sunday, but I'll give you guys a little bit of a, I don't want to say peek behind the curtain, but a little bit of a trader secret. Tomorrow happens to be January 31st, last day of the month. So if I post it tomorrow, whatever ad rev comes from the video will at least be packed into January and come towards me a little sooner. If I post it on Sunday, that's February 1st, I'm going to have to wait until the next YouTube check to get that ad rev. So I'm like, let's try to speed things along and see if I can get this video up by Saturdays. And thankfully, I'm able to do that. I was able to finish it up. So I'm like, all right, let's do Saturday. So yeah, I'm cheating a little bit. Usually, like I said, I post on Sundays, but considering that this weekend we have a bit of a break amongst the months, we have Saturday being the last day of the month and then Sunday being the first of the month, I'm like, let's try to speed it up and try to do post this video on Saturday to make sure that that ad rev comes in a little quicker. Because if I post it on Saturday, that ad rev from the video, at least the first day of the video going live, which I think we can all agree, I don't think I'm out of pocket in saying this, that when YouTubers who are partnered and are monetized, if you are up there in terms of at least having a following and whatnot, the video will perform the best the first day. After that, it technically does worse. Very few times, unless it goes viral and gets picked up by the algorithm and escalates, usually a review, especially when it comes to like a review, a non-evergreen video, that's when it's going to do best the first day. And then after that, the only way that I can do better is if it by some chance gets picked up by the algorithm and goes viral. But otherwise, on a very basic level, the first day is when it's going to generate its most clicks, its most views, and its most ad rev. So that's why I'm like, yeah, I want that to be in the January month versus the February month, because then whatever ad rev it generates, it's going to come in on February 21st or 23rd, something like that. If I post it Sunday, I'm going to have to wait until March 21st for that, or March 22nd, whatever day it lands on. So yeah. The problem is that shorts get more engagement now. Understandable. And that's where the money is. Not saying that everyone is a grifter, but some people made careers out of this hobby are now struggling. Yeah. That's why I try to approach every video, and why, ever so often it does get a little under my skin when people say that your videos are too long, or you butcher the English language, even when I know that I am. Even like the nerve endings things, that was for sure a slip up. I meant to say veins, but I don't know why I said nerve endings. I'm trying to like articulate my thoughts in real time as I'm speaking, and I was like, yeah, I fucked up. And that's why when I made that community post about Bane, I poked fun at myself by saying, hey, look at all those nerve endings, because I know that was stupid. That was a mistake. And I was this close to apologizing and even adding like a pinned comment on the video saying, guys, I meant to say veins. I don't know why I said nerve endings. I apologize. What made me not do that and not apologize is to see certain individuals just take it way over the top to where it's almost like they're white knighting the English language. And I'm like, you want to try and go outside? Like I was confused. I was like, what is going on? They sound legitimately like I offended their mother or something. I'm like, bro, like but that way of speaking and the way I edit and the extra mile of shooting B-roll and doing all these close-ups and gimbals, that's when I knew that this is what needs to happen to separate my content from all the other usual YouTubers that were trying to make this content happen during the time of peak COVID, late 2020, or throughout practically all of 2021, and maybe a little bit of 2022. And that's why I still do it, because I know that that's something that's going to stand out for better or for worse, versus others that just plant the camera, talk about the figure, and then move on. Because this is an expensive hobby. Each figure costs, and that's why late last year I was starting to create that argument of, should I start allocating the money that would typically go towards McFarlane figures and put them towards imports, such as the lpzz slash UP Find Yours Batman Who Laughs, if I could find it. Let me switch on over to this photo here, or this batch of photos, because here we have the lpzz slash UPF Batman Who Laughs. Now, somebody in the chat did say, isn't it already out? Yes and no. There is a very strange, you could argue a curious case of the Batman Who Laughs sort of unfolding before us. And the reason for why I want to talk about it is because, as demonstrated by not just my review of the Arkham Knight Batman a few months ago, but also my upcoming review on the Arkham Knight Deathstroke, which I finally got in hand because I pre-ordered through Toys Metaverse. But unfortunately, I waited a little too long from when pre-orders went live to when I put down my pre-order, that unfortunately I ended up being maybe second or third batch. And unfortunately, the rollout for Deathstroke was in a way where they kind of overlapped it across the holidays. And if you guys know, Toys Metaverse, I believe, is a Chinese storefront. And when it comes to the holidays and the Chinese, they're known for having Chinese New Year. And Chinese New Year lasts, I believe, 2 weeks. I think it starts at New Year's, but then it goes into like January. Which means that if you are a collector that is severely investing in imports, like I am now, you could be shit out of luck when it comes to a release that just happens to overlap with Chinese New Year, aka Deathstroke. I think first batch people, for those who that pre-ordered, I think the first few days of pre-orders going live, got their second invoices and got their shipped prior to, I think, even Christmas. But unfortunately, mine did not. I swear to God, I think my invoice came in like the second week of January. That's when I finally got the email saying, hey, second invoice for Deathstroke. So I was either second or third batch. Does it make sense that I was second and third batch? Kinda, because I did put down my pre-order, I want to say about 2 weeks. Was it 2 weeks? Somewhere between a week and 2 weeks after pre-orders went live. So I did wait a while. I can't remember if I was waiting on some money to come in so I can put down that deposit, or I can't remember what the circumstances were really. Yeah, it was like back in August, I believe. So I waited a week or so. Yeah, actually, you know what? Yeah, I believe pre-orders went live the day of my birthday, actually, I think August 13th. And I think my pre-order went down a week later on the 20th. So that, unfortunately, is what resulted in the delay of me finally getting this guy. But just know that this review will be going up tomorrow. Review's done. So this guy, I'm still kind of playing around with him because no spoilers for the review, but the fact that I've already finished filming and I still haven't put him away yet, and I'm still playing with him. Yeah. So now we're looking at release number 3 from UP Find Yours / I don't want to say LPZZ because LPZZ is like the parent company. And then underneath that, you have UP Find Yours, which is making the Arkham stuff. That's a bit more on the tactical, armorized sort of level. And then when it comes to maybe some of this like gothic, well, I don't know about gothic, I don't know about tone, but when it comes to the specific license of the Dark Knight's metal wave, such as the Batman Who Laughs here, it's handled by a division or a team called Fig Trove. And they're the ones in charge of not only the Red Death, the one that's like an evil red Flash Superman, but, I mean, I'm sorry, not Superman, Batman, but also the Devastator and probably the Green Lantern that they also got cooking, the corrupted Green Lantern Batman. But Batman Who Laughs is their first release from Fig Trove, and then the third overall release from LPZZ. However, Batman Who Laughs here has made a bit of an interesting splash. One that could potentially be a little problematic for LPZZ, one that does raise a few concerns and does require a little bit of criticism, and the criticism comes from a place of huge admiration because, again, trying not to spoil, but so far, after Arkham Knight Batman and Deathstroke, you can count me as being on the bandwagon for LPZZ. They are most definitely an import company to look out for in 2026. One that can definitely present some really harsh competition vying for my wallet versus just pulling it all into these waves of McFarlane figures or later in the year Mattel figures that I play with and I go, that was okay, but now I'm like $25 out of my wallet. Skelly Bones, you got a gambling ad? What the hell? I'm trying to mitigate the amount of hold on. Mitigate the amount of ads. But here, let me see if I could find the story. I wonder if I could find the story. Where did it go? Did I save it? I probably didn't save it. Damn. Sorry. I didn't save it. God damn it. I could have sworn, or was it on Instagram? Actually, you know what? It probably was on Instagram. Let me double check. Because 5K Toys posted a story pertaining to the Batman Who Laughs that, like I said, could be a little on the problematic side and could lead to some concerns going forward with, at the very least, the Fig Trove side of things. You know, maybe the Arkhamverse is in better hands, but right now, there are some things regarding the Batman Who Laughs that could be a problem. Let me see if I could find it. No, I can't find. Oh wait, I found it. Here we go. It seems like Batman Who Laughs is, to an extent, getting recalled. So 5K Toys shared this story that was relayed to them by UP Find Yours, dated January 20th, 2026, from UP Find Yours /LPZZ Group. Dark Knight's Metal, The Batman Who Laughs. So let me go ahead and try to, actually, you know what? Let me take a swig of water here. Updated on January 26, 2026, LPZZ has recalled their first production batch. As instructed, we are not going to ship this batch, and we will ensure that all orders will be fulfilled with the future fixed updated version. So, here in this first paragraph, because it's segmented regarding the Batman Who Laughs, Red Death, and some other attention-related stuff. So, with Batman Who Laughs, recently we have received feedback from many players. What, you mean collectors? Players regarding the first product in the UPF Fig Trove, designer line, Dark Knight's Metal, The Madman Who Laughs. The UPF team is very concerned about the existing issues and fully understands the dissatisfaction of our players. It's not a game, guys. Not a video game. After discussing and analyzing the actual after-sales situation, we propose the following solutions. Paint issues. Toys with obvious paint accumulation on teeth, lack of panel lines and gum grooves, or lack of gloss oil can be sent back for after-sales replacement. Well, let me hold off on that clap because there is a major caveat. A big one that, like I said, brings about that criticism that comes from a place of admiration because of how much I'm loving lpzz so far. After sales service covers all officially announced partner stores. Please refer to the specific store where you purchase for details. Joint issues. Some toys have loose or deformed elbow joints. Players can register for after-sales replacement at the original store of purchase. If eligible, replacements will be sent out in a unified batch. For disassembly and installation, please use a heat gun or soak in hot water first. Well, definitely, should I get Batman Who Laughs, one of the first things I'm going to do is pass it with that hairdryer. Lava base. I don't know why this highlights specifically because I feel like out of all things, we should be focused more so on the figure than the base, but that's just me. The first batch of lava bases has missing paint effects. A full recall is currently underway. The UPF supervision team will intervene to re-audit, optimize, and reissue them. So, before we move on to the Red Death, actually, let's cover the Red Death so far because it's actually pretty short. Initial results for the additional effect parts for the UPF Fig Trove designer line Dark Knight's Metal Red Death will be revealed soon. Please note that these are not the final effects. So they're working on some effect pieces to also toss into the box. The lava base for Red Death will be updated to match the optimized standards of the recalled Batman Who Laughs. So following it in its steps. And then the last part here, attention after sales service will be suspended during the Spring Festival. I'm trying to remember when the Spring Festival is. I think it's in March, right? Because I remember it was around WonderCon time. I might be wrong about that. The specific resumption time will be subject to further notice. Thank you for your understanding. The UPF supervision team will further participate in the planning of the designer product line to better serve the needs of designer player groups. UPF products are only sold in mainland China. After-sales service is limited to mainland China. After-sales service is limited to mainland China. So what if you don't live in China? The UPF team expresses sincerest apologies for the poor experience brought to some players. At the same time, we are very grateful for everyone's support and feedback. We will continue to listen to player opinions and strive to improve product quality. So what if you don't live in China? Is it possible that maybe a storefront such as Toys Metaverse, for which I have a pre-order for the Batman Who Laughs under, could they potentially provide some kind of correspondence in relation to a recall or some kind of after-service help should I pull out my Batman Who Laughs from the box and it does in fact have these first batch of problems regarding the paint issues and joint issues? Because despite the left part of this infographic reading updated, lpzz has recalled their first production batch. The recall may not have... This is the recall in regards to the correspondence by 5K Toys. I did not pre-order through 5K Toys. I pre-ordered through Toys Metaverse. Hold, please. Hold. Hold. Where is it? Where's the screenshot? I don't know where the screenshot is. Damn, I'm getting hungry already. I took a screenshot. Hold on. Let me see if I could put it into the folder so you guys can see it. Yeah, there's the screenshot. I don't know. It's on my phone. Let me see if I could add it to album. Hold on, guys. I'm trying to make sure that you guys can see a photo. Let me see if it's in my archive. There you are. Let's see if it's in the archive, and now let me see if I can move to locked folder. I don't want to do that. I'll just, can I open it? Open image, new tab. There we go. Although now it's kind of small, but okay. Can I zoom in and center it? I don't know why it's so gross. Apologies, guys. It's going to be on the left side where my camera is, but you can see right here. I took a screenshot from a story that Toys Metaverse released last night on their Instagram page, roughly around just a little bit before 6:30 p.m. And it's a screen grab of Batman Who Laughs shipments, with captions reading, "First batch on next week. Second payment noticed. First 50 pre-orders will be sent this week." And judging by my first couple of experiences with invoices with Deathstroke and one other figure, those invoices have been coming in on Saturdays, which is pretty interesting that they still work over the weekend, but at the same time, Chinese companies, I think they only get I think they do Sundays and Mondays off or something like that. I don't know. And they still work Saturdays before they break off. But yeah, I've gotten invoices on Saturdays. So it's possible that maybe either tomorrow or Sunday, or maybe not until Monday, I'll get the invoice. But that is if I made it to the first 50 pre-orders. I don't know for certain, because I did pre-order day one. Unlike Deathstroke, I did pre-order the day that pre-orders went live. Pre-orders went live on September 20th. I did put down my pre-order on September 20th. The question is now, though, did I pre-order in time to sneak into these 50? Because I sincerely don't know. I can't remember the exact time that the pre-orders went live. I just know that I put down my pre-order around 9 o'clock in the evening, 9 o'clock at night, according to my Gmail, my confirmation email. So there's probably a few hours difference, 2-3 hours difference, or 2-3 hour interval between when pre-orders went live maybe and when I pre-ordered. So who knows if I'm in the first 50. I am speculating that if I get to Monday morning and I don't get an email of the second invoice Monday morning after the weekend, then I probably didn't get into the first batch. Now, is this a good thing? I don't know. There's kind of a trade-off. At least I perceive it as a trade-off. Because the trade-off is that there's good and bad. If I did get into the first 50, then I'm about to get an invoice, and I'm about to be amongst the first to get the lpzz Batman Who Laughs. The downside, there's a really good chance that figure that comes in the mail is gonna have those defects. It's gonna have those QC problems, and I'm gonna have to remain objective and report on them during the review. And then subsequently, I'm gonna have to figure out if there's a way that Toys Metaverse could help me out with some sort of customer service regarding the paint applications, the problems with the joints, etc., and the base. So I'm going to have to go through that rigmarole. And I can't deny that it definitely stings to know that here I've been the past couple of months boasting, and as the kids like to say, glazing lpzz, being practically 2 for 2 with Arkham Knight, Batman, and Deathstroke, to then get sort of punished for being an early adopter, finally correcting the mistake that I did with those first 2 figures, with Deathstroke and Batman, that I did not pre-order day one, and probably should have, so I could have gotten them a little earlier. Now that I do pre-order day one, it ends up coming with QC problems. You know what I'm saying? It's like a curse. It's like, am I cursed? What is happening? it's like it turns into a comedy, and then eventually you can't do anything but just laugh about it. Laugh about it and practically just report on it and comment on it when the video rolls out. So then the trade-off is practically the inverse of that if I end up not being first batch and I end up being second batch through Toys Metaverse. Because second batch means that it's going to take longer to get the figure in, which is only really a problem for me because I'm a content creator. If I wasn't content creating, if I wasn't a YouTuber, if I wasn't filming reviews, obviously complete non-issue. I'd rather have the figure be have a greater chance of the figure being perfected as much as possible. It'll end up in my collection somehow, and I'm paying basic MSRP price for it, not scalped out the wazoo, and in the cheapest way that it could possibly be. Awesome. But I am a content creator, so now everyone's already got. I think there's already a handful of reviews already up on YouTube, and now in regards to the YouTubers that cover action figures here in the States, they're gonna get all their videos out. Mine's gonna be obviously late. God only knows how the Deathstroke review is gonna do, since there's already plenty of Deathstroke reviews out there. So yeah, it's a game that needs to be played by those rules. You know, people don't realize that there's a strat to all of this. That's a definitive strat to all of this. So yeah, that's the very specific trade-off. But the bright side is that there's a great chance that that figure's not going to have any QC problems being second batch. So it depends. And frankly, I don't know, to be honest, I don't know which one is better over the other. Because like I said, at least I'll have the figure in hand earlier, but at the risk of having QC problems that will have to be addressed in the video. And then the inverse is the case for the other scenario. This Chinese New Year, New Year's Day is February 17th, and the celebration period extends to March 3rd. Is that true? I thought Chinese New Year happens like at New Year, but then it goes on for like 2 weeks. So, and here's the thing. I actually went on Reddit and I shared that screenshot, and there were some people saying it got recalled, and I'm like, yes and no. It got recalled through certain retailers that they were able to like grab onto it and be like, no, we're recalling it. Unfortunately, it seems like the shipment of that first batch to Toys Metaverse was already on their way. It was already like on a plane or on a truck or whatever, and it has hit Toys Metaverse's warehouse. It's too late. So all I know right now in this point in time is that those first 50 orders might have QC problems inside of whoever pre-ordered at Toys Metaverse, which I did. So I might be in there, I might be not. Yeah. It just really depends on how quick I was pre-ordering that first day. I know I pre-ordered day one, but whether or not I'm in the first 50, I don't know. That's just the way the cookie crumbles. I bought an SH Monster Arts -1 Godzilla, and his tail falls off if I move it. Can't do shit about it. That's how it goes with imports. Yeah. I guess it's just going to be a trial by fire thing, and then kind of make an assessment at the end of that trial to see how quick I'll pre-order some things or which pre-orders I'll prioritize. And that's one thing to consider too, like, not to sound mean, but if Fig Trove is in charge of this Dark Knight's Metal line, and this is their first release as far as like specifically from Fig Trove, and it has these QC problems, then I'll probably still be on board with LPZZ, but it's gonna sour how I'm gonna see the rest of the Dark Knight's Metal line. So I'll be gun-ho on the next Arkhamverse line, Arkhamverse release, which according to them is going to be Arkham Knight, the Arkham Knight, and I pre-order that day one. But when it comes to Red Death, when it comes to whoever's after that, which could be, like I said, the Corrupt Green Lantern or that Devastator, whatever it is that Fig Trove is tackling, I'm going to feel a little apprehensive about it and be like, I don't know. You guys had QC problems that first go around, but it could just be first time jitters, quote unquote, and maybe Red Death won't have any QC problems. It's a waiting game at this point. Justin's Collection reviewed the Batman Collapse and it was perfect. I could be wrong, Stone Capybara. I could be wrong. His review, I think, was of a prototype, because that review was early. We're talking like months ago. Let me see if I can look it up real fast. A month ago. Might be even longer than that. I think we're teetering on 2 months. December 20th. So not a terribly long time, but it's still kind of early enough to where I'm like, all right, first batch is barely rolling out now, but he already had over a month ago the figure. I almost want to say it's a prototype. Because I'm like, how do you get it? And another thing to consider, like, the reason for why I'm susceptible to believing that it's a prototype is the fact that Justin lives in China. It's very easy to literally just hand it to him. Maybe not literally hand it to him, but you get what I'm saying. Like, literally just drive over and be like, oh, here it is, or come by the office and pick it up, because lpzz is in China, Justin's in China, or Hong Kong specifically. They could literally drive to each other to get the fucking thing. And that's why I'm like, all right, it could be a prototype. And that's why his was specifically perfect. Not his fault, it's just how it works. The fact that it was a month ago, prior to even that first batch of Deathstrokes rolling out. Yeah, this was even prior to the first batch of Deathstrokes finally getting shipped out and released. Because then Anthony Customs, I can see it right here, Anthony Customs did a review of the Deathstroke on the 28th, and that adds up. That's when first batches were arriving for some people. But then, like I said, mine got delayed because we then hit the holidays. And I was either second or third batch, something like that. It was a prototype. There you go. It was a prototype, yeah. With the prototypes, it's like, it will be perfect because it's the prototype, and sometimes it's difficult to not, especially with the skeptical, cynical son of a bitch that I am, it's difficult for me to not take things with a grain of salt when something's a prototype, especially when the reviewer's already in China, because it's like, oh, they could just hand it over to him. It's like, yeah. Also, CM Bronk, I don't know if I saw you earlier in the chat, but welcome to the stream. I watched on reviews of Deathstroke. I'll have no problem seeing yours. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like in a very specific viewers I know will still watch my video even after watching other reviews, and that's awesome. I literally just mean in a very general, over-encompassing way that in a very general sense, I feel like a lot of audiences in the space now versus not counting years prior, but now they watch one review, they formulate the thoughts, and then they move on. They don't watch other reviews or generate second opinions, because we live in that kind of internet environment where people jump at opinions and form them before even taking in all the proper information, even when it comes to action figures. Yeah, I still don't get why they call themselves Fine Yorts, but I don't mind saying UPF. I'll just call it UPF. And here's the thing with CM Bronk. Here's the thing, CM Bronk. With Justin's Collection, I kind of understand why he gets things early. I mean, the dude has literally, what was it? 860,000 subscribers. Why the hell would he not get something early? I totally get it. And like I said, he lives in Hong Kong. They literally don't have to ship anything. They could just drive it over to him. What irks me is when certain YouTubers that have either about the same following or maybe even lower than me live here in the States and they already got the in-art Arkham Origins Batman and reviewed it. Okay. It is what it is. I can't control everything. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and start wrapping things up, but some of you guys did ask really quick, what are your thoughts on the MUF, especially since we were talking about imports and, overseas manufacturers. And though we did touch upon it a little bit with lpzz, a couple of you did ask what my thoughts are on the Mafex Clark Kent and Bruce Wayne. Actually, perfect. Plaza Japan pages pop up immediately. I can get one out of the way really, really fast here. I'm not picking up the Clark Kent because I'm not a Superman guy, but I do madly respect the ability to swap out the torso for the open shirt look. That's sick. It is, however, a statuesque piece. I think it's like a stagnant statue top part of the body there, which makes sense. So in regards to like an actually articulated figure, you're mainly just looking at the suited body with the usual joints you expect out of a Mafex. The glasses look a little overly big. I don't like how the sizing of the glasses. I do like the smirk, but the middle face is a little strange. He looks a little too sad. It's literally going down like this. And I do like that they're throwing in a different head. Although, I'm a little mixed on this concept of... Well, I guess I'm generally favorable on the concept of throwing in parts for a figure that they're assuming the collector already has. Which would be... This could be a hot take, but I think it's a correct assumption. Because who buys a Clark Kent figure or a Bruce Wayne figure from Mafex, from an import company that... you need to go to some of these websites like Plaza Japan, Hobby Link, Hobby Genki to import, at this point, pay tariffs and not have Batman first or have Superman first. So, could be a hot take, but I dig the included pieces. Whether or not it justifies the price is kind of a secondary matter that could be contested and debated, because some people have argued, rightfully so, that sometimes there's some parts in here that inflate the price and pack up the box in a way that probably didn't need to happen. With Superman, I think he did get the more favorable side of this torso piece to have it look like he's tearing open the outfit, and then the included head sculpt for the Superman figure that they again assume already comes with some of you already have for Superman, for the Hush Superman. So there's him. Unfortunately, my man Bruce Wayne, I think, got the shorter end of the stick when it comes to like these packing pieces, because I'll tell you right now, I do like the Bruce Wayne. I do like the outfit. It is a little douchey looking, but that's just how Bruce Wayne rolls, especially when he's trying to put on a disguise with the goddamn scarf and the trench coat. I will admit, for both Superman, for Clark Kent, and for Bruce Wayne, I'm a little nervous about these elbow joints. They do look a little gaudy, a little bit of an eyesore facing forwards like that. They're a little bit strange. But I do like the included accessories, especially, like I said, the scarf and the suitcase, although I don't know why you have to toss in batarangs. And the head sculpts are awesome. The slight little smirk, the usual stoic face, and then the glasses look. I dig it. Douchey Batman, douchey Bruce Wayne. I dig it. I really dig it. I dig it enough that, yeah, I've already put down a pre-order over at Hobby Genki. I did Hobby Genki. That way I'm not locked, because Hobby Link Japan has a new policy to where if you pre-order and you miss that cancellation date, too bad. They're going to charge you no matter what. You can't cancel. You don't have any other options or selections. You just have to roll like that. So, yeah, I did put down a Hobby Genki pre-order for Bruce Wayne, but he does come with additional parts for, again, figures that they assume you already have. They would assume mostly correct, because I do have the Hush Batman So naturally, these heads are going to fit on him nicely. Is that just a breathalyzer? Additional head parts for Batman and Catwoman. So he comes with an additional Catwoman head. That's probably the only one that I'm like, you could have probably cut her out and saved a little bit on this price, which let me translate what that is. Yen to USD. 83.35, which is not terrible, but it's not great either. I feel like that 83 could have gone down to either 80 flat or like 78 if you had cut out the Catwoman face. Because these two, like I said, you're buying Bruce Wayne, you probably already have Batman. Not a guarantee that you also have Catwoman, because I don't have Catwoman. I don't have Hush Catwoman. So this head is going to stay in the box, and I don't see myself buying Catwoman. Maybe their strategy was that, oh, you're gonna this will incentivize you to pick up Hush Catwoman. Not really. Unless I find it like clearance at like my local collectible spot, like Mike's Toys and stuff. But otherwise, not really. And the same debate is being said about his extra legs, because he comes with a bonus pair of legs. Because the feet come with fans. This is one that truly is a little egregious, because you could have just made the extra feet, especially since this is Mafex. Mafex is known for exchangeable feet. You've done exchangeable feet for Spider-Man with the magnets. You couldn't just done the feet? Saved some plastic, save yourself some plastic manufacturing, and saved us money for having to pay for that plastic, and just do an extra pair of feet. And then on top of that, you can't see that unless you prop up his legs. And I get it, they're trying to simulate like the underwater sequence from the Hush comic, but I'm like, you can only see this if he's like kicking or doing something. And they don't rotate, they're just molded in. So this is the only part that hurts. The pre-order. So you're probably asking, David, why did you pre-order? Because I really do want a Bruce Wayne Mafex. I like this enough to be like, all right, I'll take it. Even though we could have saved some plastic for both the Catwoman head and the Bruce Wayne legs. Because A, you didn't need all of the legs just to come up with the fans. And then on top of that, the fans don't even rotate. They're just there for show. And the problem of showing said fans is already an issue to begin with, considering they're on the soles of the feet. So, perplexing. But a bit of a bummer that that's the one that I actually ended up pre-ordering. Yeah, Stone Capybara, you're pretty much getting DLC for another figure. In domestic stores is like 120. Yeah, like I'm talking about yen to USD from an import site. Obviously, once you factor in shipping, taxes, tariffs, it goes up to the 120. If you pre-order from BBTS, it's 120. Entertainment Earth. Yeah, I don't get those extra pieces, and it's unfortunate that it's Bruce, the one that gets shafted with the pieces that don't make sense, whereas Superman actually gets some pretty cool pieces. How about those unpainted prototypes of the Dark Knight's metal figures and Absolute Batman by NR and lpzz? DC fans are eating. I mean, I've mentioned this in prior streams where I'm like, yeah, 2026, keep your eyes firmly peeled because a lot is coming down the pipeline. It's just then figuring out individually if we're going to have some discrepancies. Like I said, the stuff that's happening with Batman Who Laughs, it's like, why is this happening? And that too, blue Batman parts. What if you only got the black and gray variant and not the defaults blue? That's another problem. Yeah, Skelly Bones. Yes, Kelly. Although they did say that that's probably one advantage of me not getting a prototype of the Arkham Origins Batman is that supposedly they're gonna go and tinker a little bit of the tooling to make them a bit smaller and not overly sized for future releases or the actual mass-produced retail version. So maybe I lucked out. We'll see. We shall see. All right, guys. I've been pushing it already for my first time back. 2+ hours. Not a bad stream, but I am in fact starting to strain a little bit in the voice, and I'm getting kind of hungry. So gotta go ahead and call it there. But this was a packed one. And a pretty good one. And I enjoyed myself. What time is it? 4:18. Yeah. And plus, like I said, I need to start putting the finishing touches on this lpzz Arkham Knight Deathstroke review for you guys to watch tomorrow morning. So make sure you guys tune into YouTube tomorrow. 9 a.m. is when I post it, or when I have it scheduled to post. And check it out, because it would mean a lot. But yeah, thank you guys for coming in through the stream. Skelly Bones, Stone Capybara, Kevbot, Packrat2K7, CM Brock. Who else? I know I had some other new names in here. And once again, Kevbot, thank you for the $10 super chat. Greatly appreciate that. Arturo Martinez, I just saw your chat about cloth capes. Welcome to the stream and bye from the stream. Sorry, I missed your chat earlier. And apparently you guys were very active in the chat that I cannot see who else dropped in, unfortunately. So for those of you who did mention something, it did speak in the chat or simply just lurked throughout the stream, thank you guys for watching. If you guys did not tune into the live stream, not only will the VOD be available, but I might take the Mattel DC line segment and splice it out to make it its own video to maybe go up sometime early next week to kind of kick off the shortest month of the year. While I wait for another import. I mentioned earlier that I dealt with Toys Metaverse twice when it comes to second invoices. Once was for Arkham Origins Arkham Origins Deathstroke. The second is for a third-party Venom figure from Spider-Man 3. Some of you guys might have seen it. It's from a company called Sawtooth. It's on its way. It's actually already in LAX, so it's going through customs and hopefully will show up one of these days. But it's for a company called Sawtooth, third-party 1/12 scale Venom from Spider-Man 3. It looked pretty neat, so that's why I'm like, and it's only I think like $60, and that's why I was like, let's do it. And I thank God I pre-ordered it, because I think since it's sold out and it's on its way. So look forward a review for that. And as teased at the beginning of my McFarlane Toys Justice League Batmobile review, I do have the lpzz collaboration Justice Snyderverse Batmobile model kit just underneath the table here. So I don't know when in the next couple of days or so, finally crack it open, start piecing it together, film that time lapse to kind of demonstrate how the process is, and tackle that. I've yet to figure out exactly what kind of method or approach I'm going to review that thing, because it's kind of a doozy, but we'll find out. But yeah, anyways, guys, take care, stay humble, and I'll see you in the next one. See you next month. We'll see exactly what awaits us in February. If there's going to be another Hasbro Pulse stream, another McFarlane Toys show, a better one, hopefully, as well as all the other things that are coming down the pipeline. All right, guys, take care, and I'll see you later.